The purpose of an estimate is to provide a customer with an offer of what you will charge them for your services and/or products. An estimate, quote, proposal, etc. are really the same thing, so don't get hung up on the naming convention used here. QuickBooks just happens to use the term estimate. Also remember that just because you create an estimate does not necessarily mean you have the business yet. Because of this, it is important to understand that creating an estimate does not post to any accounting records since nothing has happened yet. An estimate merely means you want the business. You can create a new estimate by either going to the customer drop-down menu or one of the icons available on the home page or icon taskbar. Also, the Customer Center provides you with a drop-down menu under New Transactions where you can select the estimate function. Once you select estimate under any of the choices mentioned, this is the window that opens up. Notice the form looks like an actual estimate form. Various fields can be populated, but the only required fields are customer or job name and selecting at least one item in the body of the estimate. All other fields are optional to populate. Notice on top of the estimate form, there's a taskbar where you are provided with different tasks you can perform, including being able to find prior estimates by clicking on the back button, and if available, you can see subsequent estimates by clicking on the forward button. Also buttons such as New, Save, Delete, Create Copy, Memorize, Make Inactive, Print, Email, Attach File, and the ability to flip an estimate into an invoice are available as well on the taskbar. So let's do a walkthrough in creating an estimate. First, we're going to select a customer job. In this case, we're going to create an estimate to build a new garage for Abigail Aardvark. Notice all of the name, address, and ship to information automatically populates on the form. The class we are going to assign is New Construction. By selecting class here, QuickBooks will automatically assign the class selected to any of the items we add below in the body of the estimate. Please note in Lesson 3, under the Accounting Preference session, we discussed the need to activate the class function, and in Lesson 4, we discussed the class list, including creating classes and what their purposes are. Next, we can choose the template form to use if more than one selection is available. Note that QuickBooks provides you with selected template forms which can be modified and customized to your particular needs. We cover this in a later session covering customizing forms. The date field would be today's date or the date used on the last form created depending on the preference selected in terms of default date setting. Refer back to Lesson 3 under the General Preferences if needed. The estimate number will be based on adding 1 to the previous number used. Each form carries its own numbering sequence, which can be changed at any time and accepts alphanumeric fields, but it will always increment by 1 whatever the last number used was. Once all the header fields are populated to your satisfaction, then the body can be populated by selecting the appropriate item or items. Please note that QuickBooks does not allow you to create any kind of customer transaction without using items. The same is true for purchase orders. In effect, items represent the activities you perform in your business and allows a way of tracking these activities through various reporting in QuickBooks, which we cover in a later lesson. Let's start by selecting from the item drop-down menu a service item called Blueprints. Notice the description, quantity, unit of measure, cost, amount, markup, sales total, and tax status are automatically populated once I select this item. That's because all of this information was determined when the item was set up. But bear in mind, any of these fields can be changed at the default or individual transaction level if considered necessary. I want you to take special note that where there is a cost and selling price difference, this particular custom estimate form selected shows the markup percentage calculated. Although this percentage shows on the screen, if we did a print preview, by selecting the print icon and selecting preview, you will note the markup percentage column does not show, nor does the item name and tax status show. The ability to select which fields to show and which to not show is covered in the Customizing Forms lesson later in the course. Now I'm going to select several other items to round out our estimate. On the bottom of the form, you can put in a customer message, which I can enter in manually, or I can select from one of the predefined customer messages I created in the customer message list. Also, I can put in a memo on the bottom, and the customer tax code shows based on the default I selected when I set up the customer. Lastly, on this form, the default sales tax item or group is indicated, whether drawn from the choice made when setting up the customer, or if no choice was made, then the global sales tax preference would be chosen. Note that no sales tax was calculated for this estimate, since all the items in the body of the estimate were non-taxable items. If any of the items were taxable, the sales tax would have been calculated based on the item amount multiplied by the sales tax rate. Once completed, the estimate can then be saved by clicking on the bottom buttons or the top Save button. Once saved, the estimate is part of the customer's database, and the transaction can be easily found in the Customer Center or several available reports for estimates.